Hi, this is Richard McKenzie, co-author of Microeconomics for MBAs. This is the first in a series of video modules on issues in public choice economics, or the application of economic theory to the political process. In this video module, we're going to be concerned with the problems of majority rules, or the outcomes that can be expected from majority rule voting rules. Here we have a political distribution that represents some issue from left to right. This can be the amount of expenditures that the government should make. You're going to have a few people on the left who want a great deal of government expenditures. You have a lot of people on the right who want very few government expenditures. You have a great deal of people in the middle who want some sort of moderate level of political or budgetary expenditures. Now, we can predict that the candidates in a two-party political system will tend to favor the middle of the distribution. The reason is, suppose that the Republicans set up here, that is, they take a position in terms of expenditures equal to R1. Suppose that the Democrats go to the left of the Republicans at D1. Well, the Democrats are going to win this political contest primarily because all of the voters out in this area will tend to favor the Republican candidates. Some of the voters in between D1 and R1 will favor the Republicans, but then many of these voters in between D1 and DR will favor the Democrats. These voters over here to the left will tend to favor the Democratic candidate in the sense that the Democratic candidate comes closest to their position than does the Republican. As a consequence, the Democrats can expect to win overwhelmingly in this political contest. If the Republicans want to win at all, then they might set up to the left of the Democrats. The Democrats would then win all of the votes in the right-hand portion of the distribution. The Republicans would win over here, and so the Republicans would win the competition. The lesson to be learned is that the candidates will tend to move to the center of the distribution. Say the Republicans go at R star, and the Democrats go to D star. If that is the case, then the Democrats will take most of the voters off in this wing of the distribution. The Republicans will take most of the voters there. And there are two outcomes. First off, the election is going to be fairly evenly divided. Secondly, there's not going to be too much difference between the two candidates. George Wallace, in 1968, a presidential candidate who was running as a third-party candidate, tended to argue that there wasn't a dime's worth of difference between the two candidates. The lesson, of course, is that there are powerful forces for two candidates to move toward the center of the distribution, and as a result, the actual government policies will reflect the views of the median voter. And because the median voter will tend to be in the middle of the distribution, the person who is in the middle of the distribution will have his favorite programs catered to for the most part. And that can be good or bad. And you can have more or less discord depending upon how flat this distribution is. If it's tightly constrained, then the median voter problem may be no problem at all. If there's wide distribution, then you can imagine that people out in the wings of the distribution can become disgruntled at what happens in two-party political systems. We now turn to particular votes on special issues. Here we have the votes of 5 people on a public park. These 5 people are A, B, C, D, and E. They have a dollar value of benefits for each person that is listed in column 2. For individual A, the benefits of the public park is equal to $200 to individual B, $150, C, $125, D, $50, $25. Just differences, that's all we have. The total value of the benefits is equal to $550. The total cost of the park is equal to $500. If the cost of the park is equally distributed, we can weigh off the costs and tax of each individual and determine whether or not they vote for or against the park. Individual A gets $200 in benefits, pays $100 in taxes, has a net gain of $100. Individual A votes for the park. Individual B gets benefits of $150, pays taxes of $100. Individual B will also vote for the park. C, $125 versus $100 in taxes. C gains $25 and will vote for the park. D has $50 in benefits, pays $100 in taxes, and of course D will vote against the park. E will have $25 in benefits, $100 in taxes, and of course C will lose $75 and be willing to vote against the park. Now, here we have a case in which the total value of the park to all 5 people is greater than the cost of the park. And the park gets voted for. The only problem here is that you have 2 people, D and E, who get negative net benefits from the provision of the park. But let's look at another scenario.